Hello, everyone. My name is Grant. I am a field manager here at the Digital Summer Clinic, and today I am joined with none other than Natalie Fang. She's the founder and CEO of Nochi Studios. And before we begin our interview, I'd like to thank all of our viewers for joining us today. And if you have any questions, we'll be answering user questions at the end of the live stream. So make sure you put in those questions in the comment section on whichever platform you're watching this current live stream on. So Natalie,
Hi.
give us a quick introduction. Tell us about yourself. Give us a little history on what led you to where you are today and the inspiration behind Nochi.
Yeah. So I've grown up a gamer. My parents, neither of them are gamers, but they always bought me PC games for me. And while, back then when there were still CD-ROMs and everything, and my mom was, bless her soul, she bought me an N64, Game Boys, etc. So I've grown up on games. I ended up going to college for business because I was a theater kid in high school. And while I did act on stage, I actually loved being the student director. And it was just really exciting producing a show and like selling out a full house. There's just something very gratifying about that. So I went to school for business. And after college, I ended up working for some big brands, including Target. So I was at their headquarters for a few years. I got some really good business experiences and product development experiences as well. But on the side, I thought I'd create a game as a hobby, like a PC game, because I wasn't seeing the games I wanted to play myself. So I just did that for fun. Eventually, I decided to go back to school for my MBA at Ross at the University of Michigan. And it wasn't for games. It was just I wanted something different in my professional career. But when I was in the program, I realized that there was an opportunity with making games for female players, just, talking about my hobby with people and then going through all the core courses there. So I really dug into entrepreneurship while I was at the U of M, and post-graduation, like Nochi was born. Oh, I think you're muted.
I was muted. Thank you for pointing that out. I was just here to let you also know that Madison Moore is also currently viewing our live stream. So if you want to say hello.
Oh, hi, Madison.
So for people who don't know, could you tell us a little bit more about what Nochi is and what games have you made?
Yeah, so we're a gaming company and we're creating romance anime games that people haven't played before or haven't seen before. We're female founded and female led, which is very atypical in the gaming industry. And what's exciting is that we have the creativity of an indie studio, but we develop our games with the professionalism of a large studio. So we've self-published 2 games for mobile. So it's on Android and iOS. You can actually find them in the App Store right now. The first game is called Sifting Time, and the second game is called Somnium 11. And we're actually in the midst of crowdfunding for our third game called Untold Atlas. The exciting news is we're actually fully funded. So huzzah, huge milestone. Really yes. But we're still pushing the campaign right now, trying to hit some other extra milestones and get some other features and fun things added to our upcoming title.
I see. That's really cool. So the Kickstarter is fully funded. Everything's good to go with Untold Atlas then.
Yeah, so we did have a goal and we met that goal. So the thing with Kickstarter in particular is you can go beyond the goal, right? So if people really believe in a project, they can keep pledging, keep sharing. So that's what we're doing right now is we're doing a lot of marketing behind it. We have a demo out there that people can play. We try to interact with people online. We also have like a Discord community. So community building is really important to us.
I see. That's definitely really cool. That's a really cool, pathway and everything of how you do all of the funding and all the things you need for Nochi. Mm-hmm. So according to your LinkedIn, I see that you are a part of a bunch of different programs in Michigan, the Decide Accelerator, Dare to Dream, and with us, the Digital Summer Clinic. So in what ways, in being a part of Michigan and all these programs, help Nochi become what it is today?
Yeah, I mean, the Michigan entrepreneurial ecosystem is absolutely amazing. There's just so many startups and the community is super vibrant and exciting. There's always someone to talk to, things to learn, and like you can always ask for help and resources. So for Nochi in particular, we couldn't have gotten this far without the help of all the various organizations. And I mentioned resources and mentors, right? And so the past few years, that's really helped us push us along and just to bounce ideas off of and like think about other things out there in the market. So each of the programs that you mentioned earlier, they helped us hone in on specific aspects of the startup business. But I think with game development in particular, I think a lot of times people think just creativity, right? Like you think of the art, the writing, the story, and stuff like that. But it's not just the creativity. There's a lot of business behind it. So you have your typical business operations like financial stuff. And it's a huge part of running a gaming startup, which is, why we have that tagline of we have the creativity of the indie studio, but we are developing like a large studio.
I see. That's definitely really cool. So what I mentioned kind of earlier with one of the programs, working with the Digital Summer Clinic and working with Madison, what projects did you have with the Digital Summer Clinic that you let your intern work on?
Yeah, so Madison was an all-star. The project that we had with her this past summer was two-prong. So with Untold Atlas, I mentioned, we launched the Kickstarter end of September. And so throughout the summer, we were doing drip marketing and prepping for the Third Games crowdfunding. So there's public-facing things, and then we were preparing things behind the scenes so that we were ready to like fully launch and hit the crowdfunding goal as soon as possible, like in September. So she was working on that. And then on the other end, we found out that, Madison was really interested in game development and design. So we actually were able to work with her on designing some mini game scenarios that are actually, they're in the demo. So hopefully that was super cool for her to see that the work that she did, even from the creative aspect of game design, made it into the game itself.
I'm sure it's a great experience that Madison will definitely carry on for the rest of her life. Very cool, very interesting to be in game development, everything like that. So that's really awesome. So we have a couple user questions. I have my last question, but I'm going to kind of save that one for the end.
Sure.
So we have a question from Bud, and it says, how did Natalie learn to program? It sounds like theater, business, gaming, and game development.
So yeah, I'm actually not the programmer for a game. So officially, like, my title's director. But as an entrepreneur, you do have to dabble in a little bit of everything. So for our first game, I did do a tiny, tiny little bit of programming, nothing very technical. It was just stuff to like fix bugs or like fix things that were showing up visually that was incorrect. But no, I have a great team. Our current programmer, Kira, she is an all-star and just killing it. But what's exciting about startup world, and maybe it's not the best fit for everyone, but I think all of us on the team, what we love about it is that we get to dabble in a little bit of everything. So I think Kira likes to tell, people who are thinking game development as a programmer, her job isn't just programmer. She actually also designs some of the mini game scenarios. She looks at artistic things as well. So we're a small team, but because we get to see so many facets of the business, I think that's what makes our games more indie and more creative. And something, again, what we aim for is creating a romance game that people haven't seen before, right? And so because we get to see the full breadth of it, instead of just being a small piece, like a small cog in the total, picture, we get to think more creatively outside the box because we touch so many parts of the business.
That's awesome. We have another question. How sustainable is the Kickstarter strategy? Is that just to get started until you fully grow your company?
Yeah, so Kickstarter is interesting because people think of it as a funding tool, right? And it is a crowdfunding platform, but I think Kickstarter is evolved to also be a marketing platform as well. Because when you're thinking of SEO, when you're typing a game title in there, that Kickstarter page is going to come up, right? Because it has really great SEO marketing power. So for us in particular, there is the funding piece, but we're also doing it to build the community aspect because Kickstarter backers are a community. And for us to build games that people haven't played before, we build in Kickstarter experiences where they're along with us for the development. So we have cool tiers, pledge tiers, where they can create mini game designs with us too. So sort of like what Madison did, where she saw her stuff come into life to the demo. We have a few backers who can also go along the development ride with us. And it's also a way to give back because I think a lot of people are interested in game development, but they might not know where to start, right? So this is sort of like a cool way where you're not only helping a studio, and for us, like, we want to know what they want to see, but hopefully for them, they're getting something out of it too. So to answer that question, I think you can look at Kickstarter a multitude of ways. It's not only a funding platform, but think of it, how does it fit into your business model? Like, is it a marketing tool for you, or are you there also for the community piece? So for Nochi in particular, it actually hits a lot of notes for us.
I see. So we actually have a question from Madison, and it says, how did your team come to the final decision of your third game that is currently being crowdfunded? what would you say was the best way to help your team come to a cohesive decision?
Yeah, so in my professional experience, I've always been a huge proponent of design thinking. So actually, the concept development for this game took over, if you combine all the time together, it was probably a little bit over a month. So like 4 solid work weeks. We did a lot of workshopping, brainstorming, and did a lot of research to finally come up with a final idea. But at the end of the day, it was something that all of us on the team had to have a buy-in on, that we felt passionate about ourselves, because if we're making games, we also do want that creative piece that like, oh, this is something that we love, that we want to do, and like we want to bring to life. You're like birthing a baby, basically. So there is the business side of things, but then you have to marry that business side with the creative side as well, because games is a story at the end of the day, and it is art form, right? So that 1 month period was really important for us to not only think of it from a creative standpoint of what do we get inspired by, but also to work out all the business aspects of like, okay, is this something that we can make financially work out? Is it sustainable as a game? Does it fit our portfolio? So there's a lot of pre-work involved before deciding on a final title.
I see. Definitely a lot of work goes into that, having to do all that
Yeah.
meeting and everything for the whole month and all that just to figure out where you're going to go.
Yep.
So we have another question. So how do you see Nochi growing?
Yeah. So this is our third game, right? We plan to keep releasing games. So we sort of got into our groove, as a startup. Typically in the beginning, things are a little bit rough and you're trying to figure everything out. Like, how do you work systematically? What's the process like for your team? Who are your customers? All that stuff. So we figured that out with like the first game, and then we fine-tuned it a little bit with the second game. And we are still learning from every game, right? So for the third game, we're really excited because we think like we took really awesome aspects from the first 2 games and like are twisting things a little bit different, trying something new for that indie vibe again. It's things that people haven't seen before. And we hope that in the next year, we're going to release another game again. So our goal is just to keep releasing games and keep doing something different that people haven't seen and tried before. And just, be a sustainable studio. And hopefully when people think romance anime games, they think Nochi.
I see. So this brings us to our next user question. And it says, I know gaming is a highly competitive industry. What tips do you have for new studios to distinguish themselves?
Yeah, I think it's really important that you define your market. So it's everyone, when you're a startup, you always like think broad, right? Like I want to hit a million or millions, billions of users. But for gaming in particular, because it is an art form, it's like a movie, right? A horror movie doesn't get marketed to like a romance movie audience, right?
Definitely.
So you have to think about your audience and go after that audience first. And I would say fine tune your product so that it does well and you know what to do for the next game. Like being a studio, most of the times, like when you look at all the big studios, like it took them a few years to get to where they are. It's not that they made a home run hit and made billions of dollars with the first title, right? So it's really important that you think about sustainably, how can you last for a long time? And so because of that, your community is super important. So for us in particular, like I mentioned the Kickstarter, for our current Kickstarter, we have people from our first game and second game, and they're still supporting us because they love like seeing what we're doing, how we communicate with them. So my advice would be find your niche, find what genre you want to hit, find the users who are going to be your super fans and keep helping you. And basically it's marketing. Your super fans are going to talk to their friends and like say stuff on social media or in Discord communities or on Reddit and help spread the word for you, right? So focus on the marketing piece too, beyond just making games.
Awesome, definitely. And one last final user question is, are you excited for the digital marketing workshop coming up?
Yeah, I'm actually a speaker at that, the November 18th one, right?
Yes.
It should be a good time. I'm excited to meet a lot of students and just, talk about digital marketing. It's crazy. Like digital marketing changes so fast. Algorithms change. There's new platforms, right? Like, I mean, when I didn't find about games through TikTok when I was younger, right? Like you would read Nintendo magazine for an example. And nowadays, like TikTok's a big thing and there's up and coming other social media platforms. And even if you're on TikTok, the algorithm's changing every like 2-3 weeks. So I'm really excited for the workshop because I think there's a lot we can learn from each other. Even if algorithms change, there's still a core piece of marketing is like telling a story, right? How do you connect with people? And thinking about how do you keep all those core pieces as the environment and digital marketing landscape keeps changing.
Gotcha. Well, we're definitely looking forward to seeing you and meeting everyone November 18th. It will be a very cool, fun experience. So make sure if you haven't signed up, sign up really soon. It's going to be a really awesome experience. So my final question, and this is sort of a broad question, but for those who are looking into getting involved with the gaming industry, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I think this depends on where you are at in terms of experience, but overall, I'd say do as many projects as you can and have a portfolio to show your work and like anything that you've created or things that you've been a part of. If you're not a part of a group, whether it's like you and your friends or you met a group online and are doing cool like indie projects, maybe it's a student group, maybe it's a game development club, even if you're not a part of a group, you can still self-publish and make it really easy games. There's so many tools right now, and you can watch YouTube videos, you can go online and read documentation about how to create like a quick game, and you don't need to spend a lot of money on it. There's a ton of, free assets that you can find that are license free, right? So if you self-publish, I think, or work with a group, you end up doing the work and it'll help you understand what goes into game development. And it also looks great on your resume. So sort of kill two birds with one stone of like, you can show professionally what you've done, whether it's a hobby or project or group project, but then it gives you stories to talk about in your interviews when you're trying to get into gaming.
I see. Definitely. You want to push that portfolio as much as possible. Get out there and just start creating and doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that actually ends our digital live. So before we head out, I'd like to thank everybody for watching our digital live. Natalie, thank you for being here with us. It was great having you on. Good luck with everything. And I hope your Kickstarter is an uber success.
Thanks.
And for everyone watching, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Digital Summer Clinic, so you do not miss any of the new updates. Our next episode airs next Tuesday, October 25th at 6 p.m., and we'll be joined by Dawn Verbrigge. She is the founder and CEO of Jotful, a software company that co-builds and manages affordable and hassle-free websites for small businesses. It'll be an awesome episode you will want to tune in for. And to everyone watching, have a great night, and we will see you all here next week. Bye.
Bye.